everybody, it's Diana. Today's December 21st, 2021. It's the first day of December. It's our winter solstice. And we are going to take a look at the energy for Aquarius. Oops. Okay, this fell first. You know, every time I record one of these is when the whole neighborhood goes crazy, delivery trucks come, people are honking, snow blowers come out, leaf blowers come out. Every single time without fail, when I record Aquarius is when the whole world is, I don't know, getting to a frenzy. But we're just gonna ignore all that and look at our cards. Okay. Let me see. Okay, here we have cards that represent energy of the recent past. So these are essentially the predominant energy you've dealt with in the last several months to the last year. And then over here, we are looking at cards that's representing the predominant energy you will be working with for the next couple of months. So essentially from today, beginning of winter to about the end of March, so this winter season. And on the bottom, the three cards we have essentially represent the lessons that you are being asked to learn, as well as some advice cards. The energy for the recent past. It looks like some of you, maybe even a majority of you, have gone through some difficult situations or got out of a very difficult situation that took you a while to untangle yourself from. And that might not have started in the last couple months. It probably started a while back, possibly even a few years back. And it was not an ideal situation. Nobody was happy, especially you. Maybe it took you a while to realize how unhappy you were. Maybe it took you a while to, after you realize how unhappy you were, took you a while to figure out a way to untangle yourself out of that mess. Not, it wasn't something you could have just snapped your finger and got out of. Maybe it was, but more than likely it was something that took a lot of effort and possibly a lot of help from family and friends and your guardian angel to get yourself out of that situation. And it almost feels like, for as disturbing of an experience that was, it made you more mature. It's making you look at life from a different perspective. Perhaps you now look at life and how you analyze it, it's something you would have never done had you not gone through this experience. And, of course, we go through crazy things and we all get more mature and we learn things. I mean, that's the very nature of being human and growing up. And it feels like you are at a place where you're actively trying to heal. And I think you're lucky because a lot of you look like you've had very, very good support system, whether it's like your close friends, classmates that you're close to, very supportive family member, or that one cousin who will go through hell and back just to be very, very supportive. You're definitely surrounded by a lot of healing energy and supportive people. There's just a lot of support. And then as I'm looking at this, it feels like you have gone out of the bad situation and you're well on your way of healing your heart and your emotion and try to make sense of it all. it still feel like, life ebb and flows. Some days are better than others. There are probably some days you feel great, you're so happy, you're going about doing your own thing, and all of a sudden, bam, something happens, and a bad experience triggers a bad memory, and you sort of go down a rabbit hole again. And that feels like the energy that maybe some of you have been through. Just know that it's like the 12-step healing process of getting out of a situation. You're gonna have setbacks, you're gonna have challenges. It's not gonna be like a straight line shooting up to the moon. It's gonna be more like the zigzag line that you see when you look at a stock market. You're gonna have ups and you're gonna have downs, and it's gonna be a process. And I can see that a lot of you have almost feel like an end game, like a target state where you're trying to get to. And it feels like you know where you want to go. And comes hell and high water, nothing and nobody's going to stop you. You are going to push your way there one way or another, with or without anyone's help. And that feels like the energy that you are very much experiencing right now. So maybe you got out of a codependent situation and you want to be financially independent, and it's taking you a while to find a job or something that can support you and your family, or you and yourself, and you are just going to hustle and bustle and just march towards the end of that project like it's no one's business. And your determination is so evident. I feel the determination even as I'm talking through this. I find myself sort of sitting up a little bit taller. My voice is projecting a little bit farther. There's a lot of determination that's embodied by these cards. And I know a lot of you, or people who know you, might say, Aquariuses a lot of them are easy flowing, easy peasy people. They get along with everybody. They're always laughing, having a good time. They don't really have a lot of fights, and most of Aquariuses are not known to be difficult people. But I think regardless of your personality or your life's experience thus far, I think what I see in Aquariuses in general, again, this is a general statement, it's not necessarily targeting towards one specific individual. I find that a lot of Aquariuses have like there's almost like an invisible line in the sand where that's their boundary. And as long as you don't pass a boundary, you don't like upset them or you don't piss them off, things are going to just flow along just fine. And I think their bar of getting upset is quite high. So not a lot of people have seen Aquariuses go full-blown psycho. That's just not that's not a common trait that I hear how people describe Aquariuses to me. But I think most of them have that line or point where it's like the holy sacred place that they know what's important to them, and they will not let anyone violate it. And if by chance someone violates it and the Aquariuses let you get away from it, you kind of just have to thank God and don't take advantage of them anymore, because once they're ticked off, I think that's a phrase like hell has no fury like an Aquarius scorned. That's just my saying. And so I'm digressing, but I can see that a lot of you have been through hard times in the distant past, and you've spent a lot of time recently trying to sort of come back from that hell and really recover and heal. And you have had good support system around you, and a part of you still feels like no matter how much support and love we get and how many friends we have, a lot of life's work, especially emotional work, we have to go through it alone. And I can see that you have been incredibly determined at achieving your goal, whatever that might be. maybe it's to find that job so you can be totally independent from anyone and everything, because you guys do like the independence and you do like the freedom. And maybe is you just want to finish that school so you can move on to the next chapter, and now you're working on your dissertation or your final graduation report, and you are just completely focused on it, and you're just trucking along. I feel I'm having a hard time putting this card down because I feel the determination as I'm looking at it. And that's the energy you've been working with in the recent past. And I almost feel like that energy is flowing. It's sort of being carried over, I should say, to the energy that you will be the predominant energy you'll be working with in the next couple of months, essentially between now to early spring or end of winter. You're determined on your goal. I think we already touched upon that. You are so determined on your goal. You're not going to let anybody stop you. It's like you have your eyes on the ball completely. You are just going to ignore everything. There's no one around you. Well, at least you don't see anyone around you. Essentially, you see no distraction. You're going to charge ahead, and you're getting really good at putting down your boundaries and defending your ideology. Maybe that's not the right term. So what I have in mind is you want to graduate at the end of the let's say you want to graduate this semester, and there's a major report. You have to finish your thesis and defend it, and maybe there's a lot of distractions. Friends want to go out, family want to get together, people want to take a trip because it's around the holidays and we have spring break coming up. And I can see that you're working hard to set down your boundaries and essentially saying no to the things that you know is not good for you. A lot of Aquariuses are incredibly intelligent, and I always joke that they have the Aquariuses that I know have a very interesting relationship with temptation. I feel like all the temptations that they succumb to are essentially like to things they pick to their own detriment. A lot of people make mistakes in life and they don't necessarily know they're making mistakes. But I think a lot of you have learned and you are better at realizing what's no longer good for you, and you're working very hard at saying no. You're not going to go out drinking till 3 a.m. when you have an 8 a.m. exam the next day. You are not going to procrastinate to the last second when you know you need at least 2 weeks to finish this report or this thesis, and possibly longer to do your research. There's very much an energy of I have matured, I have went through hell and back. Now I know what's good for me and what's not good for me. I am charging ahead and no one's gonna stop me. Of course there's temptations along the way, but I am learning how to say no. That's very much the energy I see some of you are working with. And especially when I see the Strength card. So the Strength card is very much a taming the beast energy. But when you look at this card, you don't see bloodshed, you don't see struggle, you don't see weapons or chains or metals or even a net or even like a little leash like you would a pet. What you see is, I was going to say the lion whisper. What you see is someone gently stroking the head of the beast. Gently it's almost like she's communicating with the lion, the beast. And the energy here is so much about how to rein in your inner temptation, how to, instead of just follow your natural instincts and run wild and go party all night, you're learning a lot about self-discipline and self-control. I don't know if this is a common theme for like air signs or Aquariuses or just human in general. a lot of Aquariuses I know struggle with procrastination. That is like most of my Aquarius friends' middle name is procrastination. There's just something about procrastination that they all do so well. It's like their natural gift. And I think part of it is because they're smart and they know they're smart. They know what they can get away with. So for the rest of us, it might take us like 5 weeks to finish a task or a project. It probably take them, if they put their focus and their mind to it, like much shorter, so they know they can get away with it. Therefore, they procrastinate. It's almost like a self-fulfilling prophecy of some sort. But I'm seeing that quite a few of you are learning to perhaps not procrastinate so much. Maybe before you'll wait till the day before. Now you're waiting till the week before or a couple days before. And again, it's a process about learning self-control, learning discipline. I think as you grow older, as you mature, especially because when you want a goal so strongly, you are extremely determined you're going to get there. You know the sacrifices you need to make and you need to reprioritize to get to the goal you want. And I think that is the nature of growing up. I think you guys are growing up, or a good chunk of you are growing up. I mean, how can you not after going through what some of you must have gone through in the last couple of years? I think this is, nature's way, and just as we get wiser, we learn what works for you and what doesn't work for you. And you're definitely taking the initiative of doing that. And the energy of the cards here are talking about essentially the lessons you're being asked to learn, as well as the advice cards the Aquarius are getting. See, I tell you, I don't know if you guys hear the fire truck with a police car. Every time I record for Aquarius, there's always a lot of external stuff. Oh, there you go. Another police car. So the Judgment card, it's very, as I'm looking at the spread of this card, and then I look at the Judgment card, I think a lot of you know this too. You're being asked to rise up, to do something perhaps you wouldn't even think about putting that time and the energy in before. There's very much an energy of, I have to do something that's bigger than me. I think a lot of you are altruistic by nature. You probably already do some volunteer work, or you donate to charity or something. And I think that's very much in your DNA. And there's definitely an energy that's pulling you even closer to, I guess, your soul's mission is the best way I can feel it. Maybe you've always wanted to write a book, and because you're so good at procrastinating, you just haven't gotten to it yet. Maybe you always want to go back to school and take up a second career as a teacher, but life has gone in the way and you haven't done that yet. The energy feels so much like you've already gone through a phase in your life where you know what you don't want or whom you don't want. You have your eyes on the ball and you're completely focused. As you're focusing on this next goal, I feel like your soul's mission is like emerging for quite a few of you. And it's really whatever higher power you believe in, like your version of God, your inner voice, your guardian angels. They're asking you literally to rise up and do you. What I mean by that is do what your heart is telling you to do. Because now that you're at a stage where you're much, much more mature, and you probably gain a few great skills along the way, it's time to at least think about, plan out how to realize your life's goal or goals. And I'm literally getting goosebumps as I'm saying this. And I think you guys know what I'm talking about. I think heart of hearts, some of you especially will know what is it I'm talking about. Anytime you have goals where you're being called to do something more, you're gonna experience setbacks. It's just life. Your first draft of your book, you probably wouldn't enjoy it. Your first stab at being a director and doing a feature film may not work out. Maybe you have to start with student films. Your first stab at wanting to teach kindergarten, the first day, I think all teachers will tell you like their first day was just, for most of them, usually ends up in like total mental exhaustion and a come to Jesus moment, asking themselves, do I really want to be a teacher? You're gonna have setbacks. And I think a lot of times, especially for smart people, when you guys are going through setback, you're like, oh my God, it's the end of the world. You're just so down on yourself. You have to realize that help is always near. I mean, I bet you have, whatever you want to do, I bet you already know people who's either a teacher or in the industry or your mother's third cousin's neighbor. There's always, I think what I'm trying to say is there's probably more resources than what you're realizing. And ask for help. I know for some of you, you're extremely proud. You don't know how to let people know you need help. There's no shame in it. We're all going through a really tough time, like as a world, the last 2 years. And there's no shame in asking for help. In fact, I think you're probably being called to do some of the jobs you're meant to do, and you're meant to ask for help. Nobody builds an entire city in one day. No person is an island. You know, we're meant to do this together, and help is close by should you open your eyes and recognize it or admit it to it. You know, there's certain times in life you have to let go of your pride. And I think that's almost feel like a central message, especially when you are called to do your soul's work, to walk on your soul's journey. You're not meant to do that alone. Let go of your pride, ask for help, and know that help is nearby. Help is absolutely nearby. And when I see judgment with Wheel of Fortune, that is just saying you're going through. A lot of times in my readings, I say you're going on a new chapter. This is not just a new chapter. It feels like you're starting a new chapter, but this is like you're starting on your soul's journey. And you probably have been on this path for a long time, but this is probably the first time you are recognizing it. You're beginning to realize, oh, I have been doing XYZ my entire life. Had I known then what I know now, that's a common thing I hear Aquarius tell me, no, you're exactly where you're supposed to be. All that crap, all the difficulty, all the hell you've gone through up till now has prepared you to start on your real soul's journey, on this chapter where you're meant to start to fulfill your life's mission. And I know this sounds like really dramatic, like what does she know, this crazy voice that's coming on YouTube. I see it. There's very much an energy about life coming full circle. And I don't know what kind of faith you have if you believe in reincarnation, but let's just say you do. Let's say you do believe in reincarnation. I feel like the journey you're being sent on, it's larger than perhaps what you're going through in the last couple of years or the last couple of decades, depends on your age. It's very much about you're doing the work that you're always meant to do. There's so much magical element in this card. It's very much about magic, the magic in nature, the magic in the world around us, and how we embody our experience, our knowledge, our past lives, our family, our reincarnation. How do we infuse all that into the card and let that card become us and become part of our journey? That's very much the energy that I see in the Wheel of Fortune. And especially when you have Judgment and the Wheel of Fortune together, coupled with Temperance and Strength, there's just so many major arcana cards in the spread. I just feel like this is an especially important time in your life. But don't worry about it. Like, you won't. A lot of people get concerned. They say, oh, what if I miss it? You can't miss it. You can't miss your life's journey. You can't miss your soul, like what the higher powers have planned for you, as long as you're willing to recognize and do it work. I always say energy is fluid. We always have a choice in life. If you just want to stick your head in the sand and go to sleep for the next 120 years, of course, that's your choice. That's your prerogative. I guess that's the way you can miss it. But if you just keep your eyes open, pay attention to your inner voice, whatever it might be telling you, and ask yourself, does this make sense? And if it feels right and makes sense, then maybe that is a work you're being called to do. And you can't go wrong, at least exploring, right? Have a cup of coffee with your next door neighbor's cousin who's doing this job you want to do. Speak to your grandmother's, grandmom's, neighbor's grandkid who may be a writer or a kindergarten teacher or a neurosurgeon or a nomad who's doing charity around the globe. Whatever you want to do, I think now is totally the right time to explore it, to talk about it. And I know out of all people, Aquarius will understand and be open-minded about doing something unconventional. I think that's very much in your DNA. And for a lot of you're being called upon to explore it, to accept it. And that's what I see. I know I just unloaded a lot of information on you guys. So essentially, I feel like a lot of you went through some crazy hard times, and I don't just mean the last couple of months. It could have potentially feels like, I was gonna say it feels like your entire life, but it probably feels like a good number of quite a few years that you had to deal with this. You have had to deal with this difficult situation, and you're completely focused on, you have your eye on the ball. You're completely focused on moving forward. You know what you want to do. That's energy that's very strong for the next couple of months. And the lessons and advice for you is you are at a turning point. I think that was the word I was trying to think. You're at a turning point, at a crossroad of your life. And sometimes in life we work with, bumps along the road. The energy is easy peasy. Nothing really happens. But for you guys, I think the next 3 months, there's a major shift and major changes coming your way, where all of a sudden you open your eyes and you realize something really major is happening, or it has been happening ever since you left whatever the crazy situation you left you've been working through the last couple of years. But now you finally have the mental capacity, because you decluttered your brain, to embrace like your next journey, your next big chapter. And the major lessons I just want to install in your brain is, you're not alone in the world. Even at times, I know all Aquariuses feel alone in the world. You have the support system, you have guardian angels, you have family. Maybe you don't talk to your parents, or you don't get along with your parents, but you have a cousin, or you have a third cousin, or you have your grandmother's next door neighbor. You have somebody who's able to help you if you're willing to share your troubles and let go of your pride sometimes and ask for it. I keep on reiterating asking for help, because I see that you're meant to do, like, an important chapter it's unfolding for you, where you could already been on the journey for a little bit. An important chapter is unfolding for you. You're called to rise up to do bigger work, something perhaps you truly have been meaning to do your entire life. Some of you have stories to tell. learn to write better, learn to communicate better, and tell those stories. Some of you are meant to have a complete change in career, move across the globe, do something completely different. You're being called to do that. Step up and do it. And know that you are protected, you're guarded, and you have the help. And that is what I want to part ways with my Aquarius friends. So if you enjoy this video, enjoy my babbling, find it entertaining, please subscribe, like my video, and again, have a fantastic day, my Aquarius friends.